my channel. My name is Christy Yoder, founder and CEO of Smart VAs. I host a podcast show titled Master Delegator, formerly known as Delegate Your Way to Success. Can I tell you a secret about me? I am obsessed with teamwork and delegation. I consider myself a lazy entrepreneur not because I don't like working, but because I always find ways to do things in the most effective way. I was born and raised in Manila, Philippines, moved to the States, and grew my agency from one person to more than 40 plus team members as of this recording. I was able to grow my business 10 times more after I hired my first virtual assistants within 3 months. And that's why my goal in this channel is to help you grow your business by giving you fresh perspectives on delegation, up-to-date proven business strategies, and by interviewing successful entrepreneurs to teach you how to scale your business while living a freedom-filled lifestyle. Every week, we upload highlights of my interview with amazing entrepreneurs. If you want to listen to the full episode, please visit masterdelegator.com. Please also consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. So, are you ready to become a master delegator? Let's dive right in. You talked about time management earlier. So how were you able to manage your time?
Well, that's just every day is kind of like, I don't really stick to like a time management schedule. It's just prioritization. I have a mental note in my mind. I do work, okay? But I have a mental note in my mind. Anything customer related, this is just prioritize the customer. Anything customer related, it's like drop what you're doing and take care of that. So I could be doing something, or I could have like say five or six unanswered emails that came in. I'm gonna get back to my customer first. Even though, like I said, even though the other ones may just be a one-liner or just a confirmation, oh yeah, it's just too tempted to get carried away with that. And so for me, it's just been prioritize sales, prioritize the customer, and everything else, as tempting and easy as it is, comes second. But I don't necessarily have like an admin day or a sales day or whatever. I just try to force myself to put in a certain amount of time for sales every day, and then the rest is could be anything from putting out fires to just whatever. I mean, it's just all over the place: marketing and social media and accounting and licenses, compliance, all that stuff.
Cool. So in a way, you kind of have like in your head, you have like a mental list of the urgent tasks and important tasks that you need to do, and then those tasks that are less urgent and less important, you kind of just do them later, or do you delegate them to virtual assistants?
I definitely have a whole set of tasks that are entirely the responsibility of my virtual assistant. I've been working with the same virtual assistant for 3 years. So like I said, it's just for me, it's just kind of forcing myself to do those tasks that make me uncomfortable, to follow up with the guy that I think I'm bugging, or that I think I'm the people that I feel like I'm bothering, but I haven't heard back. So I mean, it's just doing that uncomfortable stuff. And then it makes the rest, it kind of puts everything into perspective, because it makes everything else, pale in comparison in terms of importance level. But to answer your question, so it's interesting. I was actually building an email marketing list back in I think it was towards the end of 2018. Yeah, end of 2018. And I had hired for that task. I mean, I needed to build a relatively big email marketing list. So I had hired for that task probably 3 or 4 different virtual assistants that were working at the same time simultaneously. And there was one that really stood out. I think it's, virtual assistants, what's attractive is obviously the pay, okay? It's a fraction of what you would pay a US employee, but it can be very, very, very challenging. And so there was one that really stood out. And so I asked her if she wanted to, because this was a task that lasted, I think, a couple of weeks. And I asked her if she wanted a permanent job, and she said yes. So I began to train her with stuff that she had never done before. For me, so yeah, I mean, I delegate a lot of stuff to her. Absolutely. I mean, all the day-to-day activity, all the day-to-day business, um, my virtual assistant handles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
and that virtual assistant that you've been working with for 3 years, are they here from the States or outside the country?
No, she is based overseas. And I think that was part of the challenge at first, because I think most people mean well, and especially when someone is overseas and there's an opportunity to have steady income. I think they do mean well. I think the problem is that they mean well without really understanding the purpose of what they're doing, or how what they're doing ties into the organization as a whole, or ties into everything else. Especially when you're a small company, everything is kind of intimately linked. So I think that could be a challenge, where a lot, from my experience with virtual assistants, the task can be done in a very repetitive and almost robotic manner. And I think it's just a challenge to get the person to understand how this ties into everything else in the company, especially working remotely. The big game changer for me has been training videos, screen recordings. I just built a video library. You just can't expect someone to understand what you mean. So yeah, so just build a video library, hosted obviously on a cloud that's accessible, and each task is, you perform the task on your computer, you narrate, you explain what you're doing, and then I think they mean well, and I think a lot of times they're almost embarrassed to ask the same question over and over. Whereas the video, they could be watching it 3 times a day and you don't know. So they feel much more comfortable with the training video, because they can go back to it. They don't feel like they're bugging you, and they don't feel like they're being judged. So that's been definitely the biggest help, is the training videos. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. When I started my virtual assistant agency business before, I was the only one who was doing everything. And when I was a virtual assistant, because I'm a very proactive person, so whenever a client would assign a task to me, I would always ask that client, like, what is the purpose of this task? Like, I want to know, so I know
Yeah.
what's my responsibility. And
Mm-hmm.
now I teach our VAs to do the same thing. Always ask
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing this? And
Yeah.
also during the onboarding process, I also we also tell our clients that we need to set expectations. Like, what are you expecting uh, for us to do? And these are also our expectations from you. So it's a relationship. It's not just like, hey, I want you to edit a video, and then you treat them kind of like your secretary, like a person who would do
Yeah.
anything that you would ask them to do. But in a way, it's helpful for them. It's very helpful if you also explain to the VA, here's my vision for the business, and that is why I want you to edit this video, because I want to use that
Mm-hmm.
video for marketing. And I think that's
Yeah.
really, and I think the VA would also feel that she's included, or he or she is included.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The sense of purpose and participation, and not being, because let's face it, with the tech boom that in which we are, and it's not going to stop, and in which we've been for a long time now. um, there is an app for every repetitive task. Okay, so I feel like when someone's doing something that they feel it's a matter of time before before that task is being handled by an app that's $5 a month. Yeah, it's very. I think it's tough for that person to stay motivated. So, like you said, it's just really to try to include that sense of judgment, and that sense of um, I'm doing something as a human being and not as, not like a,
A
human
robot or
software.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go by these three things. Like either I automate, if I cannot automate it, I delegate it. And even
Okay.
before I think about automating or delegating it, if it's something that I can eliminate, then I eliminate it first. If it's something not essential to my business, and then I automate
Nice.
or delegate. So, what have you learned so far? Starting your own business, like you've been doing this thing for 15 years. What is your biggest lesson?
What have I learned so far? I have learned that the overall, at least when it comes to a startup or a small business, the overall direction and the overall state of a business is pretty much an extension of the founder. Okay. Um, it's a reflection of your energy. It's a reflection of your state of mind. It's a reflection of your peace of mind. I mean, I'm a pretty spiritual guy, so I mean, and I see it every single day in my business. Um, you wake up early in the morning, you stay organized, you're on top of things, you treat people well and nicely, and you understand when people say no, and you don't take things personally. You try to put yourself in their shoes. When people say no and people ignore you, when people ignore you for a long time, people bring in a product that's a competitor of yours that is inferior, that they shouldn't have brought in, they should have brought in your product instead. So just allow yourself to go with the flow and be humbled by all of the challenges that come with being in sales, and especially with being in sales for your own product or service. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've learned is, I mean, it sounds cliche, trust the process, but it's just trust. It's just what I've learned is, hey, you are where you need to be. It's easy, I mean, if you're reading any kind of business news, it's easy to, I mean, it's impossible to avoid these press releases. There's a new app every day that raises X amount of millions. And some of these guys are, sometimes in their early 20s, and you're like, what am I doing? But trust that you are where you need to be and where you should be, and that, it's your path, and just do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you want to listen to the full episode, please visit masterdelegator.com or simply type in Master Delegator on Spotify, iTunes, or any other podcast channels. Please also consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't yet. See you again on the next video. Bye!